And joining us right now, Dr. Betsy McCaughey. She's the author of the great book, Beating Obamacare, which is something I think all of us would like to do. Beat it about the head and neck and leave it bruised and bloody if possible. Dr. McCaughey, thanks for joining us this morning.
Well, you're welcome. I'm really glad to be able to talk with you because this week some very prominent Republicans, Kathy McMorris Rogers, who's head of the Republican Conference in the House, Rand Paul, who's a senator and considered a presidential hopeful, even the Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, have been saying, well, maybe we can't repeal Obamacare. They're raising the white flag and saying all we can do is fix it within the framework of the law. And if they had read the law, if they had bothered to actually read the law, and it appears that they haven't, they wouldn't be saying that because the framework of this law is corrupt.
Let me just add, you really believe that, there are those who are out there now saying, well, we can't end it. We're just too far into it.
Well, you're not too far into it.
All right, well, that's why I want you to express why do you believe that.
Okay, but look at the most inflated estimates by the Obama administration claim that 8 million people have signed up for these Obamacare plans on the exchanges. Now, even if that were true, 8 million out of a population of 318 million? So we're supposed to condemn the other 310 million people to the long-term consequences of this law because of 8 million? We can take care of those 8 million people, provide another plan for them. That's the tail wagging the dog to say we're going to keep this plan because a minuscule 8 million people.
Many people would say that we got into this because we let the tail wag the dog.
Which tail are you talking about?
Well, it's a sad tale, I'll promise you that.
Yes, that is. It's a very sad tale. But here's what I think we should focus on, and that is that we should have a health law that helps the uninsured and lowers costs. Now, the Democrats who wrote this claimed that that was their goal, but really they had an ulterior motive. The real goal of this law is to create a permanent voting majority for the Democratic Party. And that's why I said this law is corrupt, because the three pillars of this law are all corrupt. One is these navigators and assisters. Think about this. Why wouldn't government employees or insurance brokers be guiding people to sign up for Obamacare? Because government employees can't say that and do the things that these navigators and assisters are doing. They've outsourced this job to groups like the NAACP, the AFL-CIO, the SEIU, Planned Parenthood, and the Legal Aid Society, Community Health Councils. All of these groups that are the permanent allies of the Democratic Party, now they're going to get a steady stream of money every year to pay for navigators and assisters, and virtually it's coming out of your premium dollars. You are going to be funding the permanent allies of the Democratic Party.
Right, and they can campaign and politic unlike government employees. However, here's the thing, Betsy McCaughey, and I got two important questions to ask you. The first one is, last I checked, Republicans had a majority in the House. If that's going on, you would think that maybe they would call some hearings and call it out and stop that behavior. Where are they?
Well, that's a very good point. And that's exactly why I said if these Republican leaders had actually read this law, it appears to me that they are unaware that under Section 1311 of this law, part of your premium dollar is going to these groups each year to pay their employees to make robocalls, go door to door, even do things like, quote, street education.
Right, street education, exactly. Going up and down the street and teaching people who to vote for.
This is what they used to call walking around money in an earlier age.
Let me bring it close to home here, Dr. Betsy McCaughey. And again, Dr. Betsy McCaughey's book is Beating Obamacare. Here in Maryland, we've had a disaster of a health exchange. Some estimates are over $200 million money wasted now. I've seen this exact same story in Oregon and in Hawaii. Oregon announced that they're just completely scrapping their exchange and they're going to just use the federal system. Why in Maryland should they, Maryland is saying the opposite. We're going to keep throwing money at it until we get it right. Is that the right thing to do, or should Maryland jump into the federal exchange?
Well, I haven't looked closely at the Maryland exchange, but I can say this. They don't care how much money is wasted. It's not their money. It's the hard-working John Q. Public. It's his money. And the fact is, they're just going to keep throwing money at it. Take a look at who's getting the money in Maryland, not just for the technology. That's a small part of this expenditure. The real money is going to these groups. The first year it's federal grants, and then in future years it's coming out of your premium dollars. And that's something that really must be looked at, because it is going to permanently tilt the scales against a fair election in this country.
You know, the public is with you on this. By and large, when you look at the polls right now, the public is all behind you on this. But it seems that the elected leaders, at least the Republicans on Capitol Hill, don't seem to be willing to back up the public on this.
Well, it's very unfortunate. And when you look at what these navigators and assisters do, they're not just enrolling people in health plans. They're also asking them, would you like food stamps? Would you like housing assistance? And by the way, would you
want
like
an
to
Obama
register
phone,
to
right?
vote?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, what this sounds like is that the community organizer who has become our president has set up a permanent community organizing system within our government.
You put your finger on it exactly. Remember back in the old Tammany Hall days when local ward bosses got the poor and the newly arrived whatever they needed in exchange for their vote? Well, Obamacare institutionalizes that corrupt model.
It's the Chicago way.
Right.
So let me ask you this, and we're almost out of time. Again, our guest is Dr. Betsy McCaughey, talking about Obamacare and where it stands now. You remember when Joe Wilson caused an uproar when he yelled out, "You lie," to the president during a joint session of Congress where the president was pitching his health care plan. People often forget the thing that the president said at that moment that prompted the "you lie" spontaneous outburst, which was that he, the president, guaranteed that no one who was here illegally in the country would be benefiting from the Affordable Care Act.
Oh, please, look at the law. The community health councils are funded fully in this law and specifically to provide health care to people who do not qualify for plans because they're not in the country legally.
So you're saying that, in fact, he was lying when he said that?
Yes.
So maybe we owe that guy some apology.
Well, exactly. Well, and the problem is that's what continues to prop up here is that there's no accountability. I mean, is there anyone?
How about the bailout provision? That's one of the other pillars of this law.
The bailout of the insurance companies.
This law is going to provide affordable coverage, but the way the law is structured, the insurance companies couldn't possibly provide affordable plans. So the president has said, well, you lower your premiums till they look affordable, and at the end of the year, we'll use taxpayer dollars to make up the difference for you.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that you keep bringing us information about this, and I'm glad somebody's read the law.
Dr. Betsy McCaughey, again, the book is called Beating Obamacare, and you can get that everywhere. It's full of all of this stuff that need to be part of the conversation as we continue toward this election. Because remember, we were told all we got to do is talk about Obamacare. Well, now talking about Obamacare seems to be, well, Obamacare, it's not going anywhere. We just have to make the best of it. That's not the conversation that needs to be had about Obamacare.
Dr. Betsy McCaughey, thank you so much.